Hello everybody, my name is Eric Mullins, and today we're going to be checking out Kotobukiya's Bishoujo lines, Avengers Assemble the Wasp. On paper, this is a 1:7 scaled figure. However, it is extremely debatable if she's not just a 1:1, because she can shrink down to size, and usually in the comic books, and even the cartoons, this is pretty accurate to the size she likes to go to the most, which is amazing! Because of this, I'd like to say that she's accurately scaled as a 1:1 figure, which conceptually is very cool. Writing her down as a 1:7 scaled figure is a real missed opportunity for Kotobukiya. Her base is absolutely beautiful. We get a clear, acrylic, light blue plastic base that has a nice thicker border around the bottom edge, and wait for it, it's not a flat surface. There are ripple effects that are sculpted on the top of this base. Wow. Very cool. Amazing. Why didn't Good Smile do this with like their Mona figure? Why don't most figures do this? Because they're not all Kotobukiya, and Koto really puts a lot of thought into their bases. I freaking love them for this. We then have a factory glued in splash that her foot goes into, and this splash is terrific, going from a darker blue to a lighter, more transparent one as it reaches the little tips and beads at the end. The sculpt work here is absolutely gorgeous, and perfect at making this whole figure look like a cute little pixie fairy, just skipping across the water during a Midsummer Night's Dream. Her right foot is actually bolted into this base, and no assembly is required. She comes completely fixed onto this base right out of the box. She wobbles just a little bit, but not enough so that I would ever be afraid that she would fall over. I really love the warmer metallic gold that we get for the soles of her shoes. They look beautiful and very malleable. And now I'm going to talk about the rest of this figure's black bodysuit, and I'll get into the gold accents afterwards. Both her feet were sculpted to have lovely folds in the bend of her toes and the back of her ankles. Her shins are thin and elegant to lovely thick calves and even thicker thighs that look like she could really kick Ultron's head right off. I love the separating line that we get around the knee. This is cool, and it gives us a nice break from the monotony of just a simple, skin-tight, glossy, form-fitting costume. From a distance, this costume looks like it's all in black with just some gloss, but don't be fooled. From up close, they actually use a dark gray for its highlights, and it's used only here or there to accentuate certain parts of her body. Otherwise, the sculptor really put in their hard work knowing that the gloss was going to make all their work shine that much more. The thighs going into the hips give us these nice folds and stretches in the fabric, where then you start to realize that this adorably cute looking pixie character is actually extremely spicy. They give her a thigh gap, and depending on how you position this figure, it's an extreme focal point with literally arrows pointing down towards it. What the heck? Her hips are elegant and shapely, but as we check out the back of this figure, she is sporting quite a bit of cake. Extremely well sculpted with the uniform that's very form-fitting, a perfect mashup of the Eastern aesthetic going in with the Western style, especially as we slowly move up into her back, where you see all these stretches from the fabric that's being pulled in from how her body is twisted, and they do a great job at accentuating her twist. Her chest is very well defined, really has that anime aesthetic, but at the same time it looks so much like Western comic books where it just seems like her costume is painted onto her body. They elegantly picked and chose well which style to use at what point in this character's costume. Kotobukiya, you did a great job on this. We have a minor gray highlight going on here, and this gray highlight is doing its job phenomenally well. Moving up, we have some sectioned off line work for her collar and her sleeves. Her arm then bends, and we have some nice folds. We have a little bit of muscle tone and definition. Personally, like around her knees, I would have liked to see her elbows have the same cut-off line work. Maybe even getting that a little bit at the gloves would have been nice too. Going into the hands, I do think they look only okay, but it seems like she's wearing gloves. So the fact that they're not as pronounced as they could be isn't so detrimental as you would think because of how her gloves are stylized. The metallic gold of her gloves actually has a couple of silver highlights here and there. I find it's only alright in its execution, but on a shelf, odds are you're not going to notice the inconsistencies. She has this lovely armored design on the front of her chest, such a focal point on all this black. I always really loved this design for the Wasp. Paintwork on it is only okay. I find the sculpt work is also meh. Each piece being sectioned into the next one is sculpted decently. It seems a little off here or there, and you can see the brush strokes on some of the paint applications here, but from your shelf, again, it's not that noticeable. The wing appendages shooting out of her back do look really nice, very comic booky. The appendage pieces are done in a matte black, which allows them to stick out from the rest of her gloss costume. The wings themselves are done in a transparent clear acrylic plastic that actually has rainbow reflectiveness to it. It's cool that depending on the type of lighting or reflection that you're going to see on her, there's all sorts of blues and yellows, oil slick reflective effects to it. Her neck goes into her costume very well. This is the sort of thing, especially on a lower end figure, that sometimes that neck kind of bevels outwards or it doesn't feel like it's in there properly. Not her. Extremely nice. Where her face is actually clipped onto this, depending on the angle that you see her at, you will notice this connecting line. However, it's extremely well done, and I find that the shading of her face masks that line exceptionally well. I think her ear looks okay, maybe a little bit off. That's just because the way it's done doesn't represent how I personally draw ears, so I guess it's just personal preference at that point. Her face is very cute, utilizing a lot of round curves, but pointy ones as well. Pointy with her nose, which is quite defined for an anime figure, and with her chin, which is pretty much a standard for the anime art style. Her mouth is open and three-dimensional, where she's ever so slightly smirking along the right side. Her teeth, however, are slowly going inwards towards that smirk, where in practice you would see more teeth the closer you get to the smirk. The inside of her mouth seems to have a couple of gloss lines on it, but it's also matte. It's not perfect, but because it's so three-dimensional, it does look really good on multiple different angles. She's wearing a pearlized fuchsia or pink lipstick, and it's very cute. I really like this. Because of the smirk that she's doing, her right cheek is protruding and rounded off more than the left one, and her right eye isn't completely open like her left one. The eyeballs themselves have a beautiful gloss sheen across them, where the eyelashes are matte, which makes me very happy. I love when figure companies do that. The eyebrows are decals. I think I would have put a little more personality into them myself. Maybe had her right one furrowing a little further down. I guess it would have just given a little more adorable personality that she has going on here. Her hair is done in a darker brown, and we've got really nice sculpt work. It's sectioned off here and there, but you don't see the sectioning off too badly, with the exception to maybe the very top of her hair, and this just might be my figure. We don't get any shading, but we do get a little bit of highlights here and there. Upon her release, she was going for 7,200 yen. This was in 2015. This is so cheap. If she was released in today's day and age, I wouldn't be surprised to see her going from anywhere between 14 to 16,000 yen. When I was younger, I grew up with the X-Men and Spider-Man on the Marvel side of the fence, and I only read a couple of Avengers comics here and there. I did watch a ton of the cartoons though, and Janet is just freaking cool, but this costume design is absolutely beautiful. And when Kotobukiya came out with this figure, my goodness, everything they were banging out at that time were just total hits. That Jubilee. So now that you've seen my whole review, and you're probably on the fence whether you're going to get her or not, is she worth getting? Especially considering Kotobukiya's secondary market usually has quite a premium on a lot of these figures. Well, that all depends on your love for Janet. I would definitely spend maybe double her MSRP price on getting her, but that's just because I love this design so much. She's so small and well-contained that she can fit in almost any kind of detail, even if you're really lacking space. But if you're not sure, like always, you should maybe check out some other reviews and go on my figure page collection and just be sure, looking at other photos, that this figure is something you really want in your collection. If you like my video just a little bit, it doesn't cost much to wasp blast that like.
Shrink down and hit that subscribe.
Or go big and shake that notification bell.
It doesn't cost much, and it goes a crazy long way at helping support my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Okay, so I actually have a ridiculous story to tell about this figure when I picked her up. I was on my way home from a convention with a bunch of friends when I decided to stop at a comic book shop to look at figures and stuff. Why would I need to go to a comic book shop after being at a convention the whole weekend? Because apparently I just can't get enough. Don't judge me. I know some of you out there are just like me. I saw her in that shop and I was like, wow, that is beautiful. I love this character. I love that costume. I want to get this. I need to get this. So when I get back in the car, I'm sitting in the passenger seat and all my friends are there and I'm just taking her out of the box and I just lightly put her on the dashboard. And that's when one of my colleagues next to me starts to laugh and points out the fact that this is a super spicy figure. Honestly, I'm so innocent, naive, that's the proper term. I didn't even think about it. I looked at this figure and thought she looked so cute. But of course she has tons of little spicy elements to her, and the fact that you can actually lean her over and pose her like this And this pose in particular works very well for this. What the heck? That's it, Eric. This review is over.